the law. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. Inability not to implement or enforce the law is not an excuse. If it is a big problem, ahead of the next election, INEC can cause an amendment bill to the Electoral Act to go to the National Assembly for a review if they cannot meet up that 3 months period. Abulo Semwagu, welcome to the program.
Good morning, Amici, and good morning, dear listener. The continuous voter registration ended on July 31st, 2022, and aggrieved persons rushed to the court to demand a continuous process according to the Electoral Act. Now, Amici, that the question arose, or is arising now, that probably due diligence was not done when the Electoral Act was being drafted. Look at the period given for campaign. Look at the period given to end continuous voter registration. Probably due diligence was not taken, as I said earlier, and probably they didn't consider the period of INEC preparing for PVC, also preparing to weed out double registration and underage voters and what have you. So going by that, we say that, okay, the Electoral Act did not capture all these activities INEC will have to carry out before they issue the permanent voters card. So that is why they gave the 3 months, which is perceived to be a very short period for INEC to prepare. Be that as it may, you have said it all. Ignorance of the law is not an excuse for INEC to have stopped registration before 90 days. But one must say also that if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. This will make a lot of Nigerians also raise a lot of questions on how prepared INEC is for 2023 general elections. They've been talking, they've been saying, yes, they are prepared, raising issues of insecurity and what have you, but this is a big question on their table. How prepared are you, INEC, to deliver and to follow every item on the Electoral Act? This is one item that you have defaulted, whether you like it or not. The INEC has defaulted in this matter, and they owe Nigerian voters, eligible voters, an apology that sorry, they didn't meet up, they didn't keep to the Electoral Act by ending the continuous voter registration in July 31 as they did. But going forward, one must also caution the media in the way we report some of these issues, because tensions will be high each time we do not report according to the way things are. The judge yesterday said, yes, INEC should continue with it, but he went back and said, however, that the time period is too short for INEC. But the media just went quickly and breaking the news.
Yeah, the judge said, yes, INEC should not have stopped, but if there were to be a longer period of time before that 90 days, he would have ordered. But because it's 3 days, he will not insist order INEC to continue. They may not achieve much within the few 3 days left.
That's why we call on the Guild of Editors to also check, and you are the gatekeepers and the media houses also. You just break the news. Wow. INEC court orders INEC to continue. But you see, and people will begin, oh, okay. Persons have been waiting to register, they will jump to INEC offices thinking that they can continue to register.
Tevetiaf, thank you so much for joining us. Yes, improvements we are seeing, especially with the introduction of technology on the part of INEC. Some will say they deserve a huge pat on the back. But going forward, we need to indeed master it all. The voter register is the basis of the election, but any question about its credibility is one that should not come up at this point in time. We look at ways banks, financial institutions give out their ATM cards, no matter where you're from. You walk in fact, in one of the banks, you produce yourself, you just uploaded some information under 2 minutes in the machine they provided, and pronto, your ATM card is printed, and it can even do international payment and everything. So the target is to meet that international best practice, international standard, where you can walk in, get registered, INEC will do all it has to do within a designated period, and you walk away with your PVC. If we can do it with ATM, it demands careful planning, hard work to do it with PVC.
Amici, good morning to you, good morning, listener. I wish you've heard the story of persons who have faced challenges with the electronic banking platform. Some persons say they will not use it In fact, my mom also said she will not be using it because of several terrible experiences.
In simple terms, is it the online banking, the ATM you're talking about?
It's the same thing.
Okay.
Because you use the ATM for e-transactions, you use it for several other things. But that's the opinion of a number of persons. Just recently, a distant relation of mine, so a bank, somebody went to the bank, used the BVN, collected a loan, and he's been asked to pay, and he raised a lot of issues. Look, how can two people have the same, BVN and all? I'm just drawing attention to, the challenges with the banking, the ATM.
No doubt.
There
are challenges, and no system is 100% perfect.
Yeah.
The issue is, does this satisfy majority? Even the Electoral Act itself, when you challenge the outcome of the election, what the court will determine whether the perceived violations substantially affected the implementation of the Electoral Act. The question is not if it affected it, it may not be enough for the court to cancel that election, but substantial. Now, the issue of the electronic bank transfer is the problem with the user who is not familiar with the processes or with the system. Even when there are systems, it's a systemic problem. Are there processes for redress of those problems?
I'm sure the banking people will provide answers to that. But I know I've heard of several cases, that are ongoing, as it were. I'm just drawing attention to this, and you'll be surprised that I'm speaking for INEC this morning because I've raised issues, with their processes, and all of that. I mean, what we had yesterday is a clear case of justice delayed is justice denied. And I hope that the litigants will not go to the Court of Appeal. I hope they will not also proceed if they don't get justice to go. Yes,
but they will also be violating the provisions of the Electoral Act.
They need to be.
They have a right.
They have a right
to go to the Court of Appeal.
Yes.
But if they get to the Court of Appeal, the case will be, in fact, by the time they release the certified true copy of the judgment, it may be by Friday or tomorrow. And by the time the appeal court will assign it to a judge, arguments will be taken and judgment will come. The election would have finished.
What I'm driving at is, the fact that we've had this lacuna in our judicial system, that delays, and we've run into this. I hope that INEC moving forward in 2026. One thing you give to INEC is they started the continuous voter registration under the old Electoral Act. So the new Electoral Act came in February, and they were faced with the challenges, that they were faced with. But, I hope that in 2026, or even after, 2026, heading to the 2027 general elections, they will take judicial notice of this, so that they will not, in the name of cleaning the register and all of that, stop the exercise way ahead of what the stipulated 90 days. By that time, we're not going to take any excuse whatsoever, from them. And the chairman has also been saying, look, that 2019 or thereabout will be the last time INEC will reschedule elections based on the issue of logistics, and all. We hope that they will get that right this time, especially when they told us by November they're going to, all the PVCs will be ready. Yesterday,
by end of November.
Yesterday they said, look, they will announce a date where the PVCs will be ready for people to go and collect. So these are some of the issues involved. But Nigerians, we need to understand with INEC, the new Electoral Act came in February, so everybody is just trying to
Well, this is not the best time to be in INEC. So much pressures on the commission. We are in a society where the people will demand 100% from you. If you give 97%, they will still shout. That 3%.
Irrespective of the challenges.
Yes, they say that 3%, it affects me and all that. So we don't expect INEC to be a 100% efficient commission, but like Tefe will always say, elections are more of a process. We continue to deepen and implement the process. We continue to learn from experience, and we continue to improve on processes. A lot of people have talked about unbundling INEC to indeed give it time to channel its resources and energy and manpower on election conduct and remove a lot of distractive activities. But perhaps these are things we also have to do in helping the commission become more efficient.
Well, we will help them by the way we are talking, and I like what the information from TV that INEC said they will not have logistics problem. I'm happy they say they've printed 93 plus 93 million voters card already in awaiting anticipation of probably of a possible rerun. So that is good. They are preparing ahead.
Okay.
We hope that court cases like this will not drag them backward, and so that they will not say because of certain court cases and this logistics was not met and that logistics was not met.
Okay, quickly, the president, true to his words, was in Komani area. Komani area is a town or community situated along the borders of two states, Gombe and Bauchi states, both of them in the northeast part of Nigeria, talking of geopolitical zones. A historic event, as it were, the inauguration of a drilling of crude oil in that part of the country. Efforts were being made in the past. The oil blocks were awarded to foreign international oil companies. They tried, they started, at some point they ran away because they felt it may not be profitable to continue to do such. NNPC then shared out those return oil blocks.
I'm afraid that will not have commercial quantity.
Yes, NNPC gave out those oil blocks to perhaps some other oil companies, indigenous, and NNPC's arm of prospecting, and they continued. They showed perseverance and continued till they struck oil in huge quantity. And so the official drilling, the inauguration took place yesterday. Many northerners are beating their chests to say, yes, we've been under the hammer of the South. They've labeled us all manners of names. We are lazy, we are dependent on them. At least, like I said, when this story first came out, there's that geo-balancing of crude oil that may help to stabilize the country. But one significant thing about that project is that it's an integrated one. Because if you drill the oil, how are you going to
refine it?
How are you going to take it to the jetties and the wharves to export, the terminal to export? So what NNPC Limited has planned is to put a refinery around there, put a petrochemical around there, put a thermal power generating station around there, and it will be an oil and gas community, as it were, where or whatever it gets, it processes immediately.
Anyway, be that as it may, I congratulate the northern axis or region of Nigeria. Just your last line, the Niger refinery is closest to that oil well, and probably they will start be refining from Niger, as the case may be. But Amici, let's go back. During the oil boom in the Niger Delta, the issue of resource control came up, and in 1993, government started what they call Oil Mineral Development Commission on PADEC to ensure that developmental projects are put in these communities. But that dragged on until 2000 when Obasanjo changed the name to NDDC. But till tomorrow, you still have the community suffering from poor water, poor airborne water, and no electricity, and no good roads. Now, with this discovery of oil, are we going to see a repeal of the NDDC Establishment Act to return the OMPADEC? Because you already have Kogi, you have Anambra, you have Bauchi now and Gombe. That ab initio were not part of the benefiting state from NDDC, because NDDC is an upgraded OMPADEC, Oil Minerals Producing Development Commission. So are we going to have OMPADEC returning? Because we expect that NDDC will accommodate.
So what you're saying in effect is that when NDDC came on, it was only principally Niger Delta states that they were responsible to. But we have states in the north, southwest. Ondo State is a major oil producer.
Ondo is part of the NDDC.
And that's but it's not in the Niger Delta.
Yes.
There's Anambra, there's Kogi, there's Gombe, and there's Bauchi now. It's just to change the name. That's the problem.
Because we know that certain things happen, and some government officials will want to divert. I hope they will not be thinking of handing that part of the oil producers to Northeast Development Commission, because that will not be fair on what do they call it now? Government policies, because NDDC principally is to focus on oil producing communities.
North-Eastern Development Commission is entirely different. The Niger Delta Development Commission is the one.
So the name needs to be repealed. That act needs to be repealed, and let's make it.
There's another bill in the National Assembly. I don't know whether you are aware of it. Immediately after North-East Development Commission bill was passed into law and signed by the president, the Southeast,
North Central,
even South, because they say this one is for oil communities, but for this, so we all want our own development commission. That's what they're saying. The NDDC is not for the entire Niger Delta, but for oil producing areas. So by implication now, their responsibility will go beyond Niger Delta, and it has gone up to Ondo, accommodate Anambra, accommodate Kogi, and make plans to accommodate Bauchi and Benue. And
Gombe, yes.
Yeah, just like Abulu has raised, it's an issue of amending the NDDC Act to accommodate all these others.
Just nomenclature, changing nomenclature.
As it were. But just like you also observed, Bauchi and Gombe are landlocked. And that's why they're thinking of a refinery there, because you can't, how will you export the crude? It's practically impossible. So perhaps what we are looking at is what we have there will be for domestic use, as it were. And
not for export.
Not for export per se. And then what in the Niger Delta that have access to water and all of that will be, for export, as it were. The prospecting there started, from what we learned, in around 92, 93 under the military, when they were not comfortable, they now left. But when Niger Republic and Chad also discovered oil, hopes rose that, we need to re-enter these fields and, eventually we struck oil, as it were. So my concern also is, let's learn from the lessons in the Niger Delta. The 13% has been making the round all is why we need to look at it, and then development of those communities. Interestingly, Amechi, sometime in 2011 or thereabout, I visited that particular oil field. Then the PTDF was sponsoring the professorial chair. We went from the University of Jos, we followed the professor, to look at it, as it were. And then what we eventually have today is almost like a desert. Hardly you see the communities, houses, and all of that around, those particular places. But I hope, as it were, people will definitely to attract development and all of that. And then gas flaring. You need to be close to where they are flaring